All right, so we're trying this streaming thing. Totally clueless, but I wanted to get out, and I thought live stream might be the best way to do it since I was just reading it today, and it's a really good paragraph explaining how that new subsidy rule for SSI people paying rent really helps a ton of people. So I'm going to go right to the Federal Register and do a little quoting from it to explain what used to be and what changed on September 30th, a few days ago. Okay, we've been mentioning that this was going to happen since the SSA told us about it. So let's get to it. All right, so they give a bunch of background. I'll plug this page in under the comments. Okay. Okay, so they start out talking about the rental subsidy. This is when you are not paying your fair share, meaning the fair market value and your prorated amount of a dwelling you're living in with other people, or getting what would be the fair market value, you're paying less than that to your landlord. Okay, so I'm just gonna start with what they say. Our regulations clarify that an individual is not receiving ISM. And remember, ISM is in-kind support and maintenance, in the form of room or rent if they are paying the monthly required rent charged under a business agreement, and that's in quotes. Under our general regulatory definition prior to this rule, a business arrangement existed when the amount of monthly required rent equaled or exceeded the current market value, CMRV, current market value. I'm missing an R. Oh, current market rental value. Sorry. If it exceeded that, it met or exceeded that, you're paying your own way and you're not being gifted anything in the form of rent. So to illustrate, they give an illustration. If the owner of an apartment would rent that property to a potential tenant for $800 a month, then the CMRV, the current market rental value, is $800 per month. Consequently, in this example, if an SSI applicant, and this is under the old rule, or recipient agrees to pay the landlord rent in the amount of $800 per month, a business arrangement would exist, and the SSI applicant or recipient would not be receiving ISM, the little gift, in the form of room or rent. The SSI applicant or recipient in this example would thereby, absent any other countable income or earnings or any of that business, I lost my spot. The applicant or recipient in this example would thereby, sorry guys, absent, my eyes are so bad and this is kind of far away from me, absent any other countable income or resources, receive the federal benefit rate, that's FBR, and in 2024, that's $943. It's going to change for 2025, the announcement of which will be in a few days. So conversely, if you're not paying the $800 or you don't have an agreement to pay, and we have videos on if you have a loan agreement and you agree to pay it, but you can't, so they let it slide, but you got to pay them later, that can also save you. But here's where the amount changes, where you don't have to be held to such a standard. Conversely, if the SSI applicant or recipient agrees to pay the landlord less than CMRV, the CMRV was $800 per month. For example, let's say they're going to pay $400 a month. We would impute the difference between the CMRV and the monthly required rent as ISM received by the recipient or the applicant in the form of room or rent up to the PMV. PMV is $334.33 in 2024. That is essentially 1/3 of the FBR rate, which is $943. And again, that amount will likely increase for 2025 a little bit. So in this example, the landlord agrees to accept the $400 a month instead of the CMRV of $800. The rental subsidy amount is therefore the other $400. However, the PMV is $334.33 in 2024. So only $314 would be counted as ISM, not the full $334, because they subtract the $20 freebie amount we're all allowed to get. And that would be counted as ISM. It would be subtracted from the $943. This is the old rule, guys. leaving that person with $628.67. So as you know, a lot of SSI people have been docked and have been getting $628 instead of $943 because they get a subsidized rent. Okay, and that's because they weren't paying their prorated fair share. Now, there was an exception in one circuit, the 7th Circuit, and I'm not going to get into why some circuits can differ. All right, that's a whole nother spiel, and that's something outside of SSA. It's universal. But anyway, the 7 states in the 7th Circuit that had a far better rule that is now being applied to everybody were, I think it was Connecticut, New York, Vermont, Illinois, Indiana, Wisconsin, and Texas. In those states previously, and now applying to all of us, that business arrangement that you want so that you don't get counted as getting a freebie, it exists when the monthly required rent equals or exceeds the PMV. That's a 334.33 in 2024 instead of the CMRV. So you're not held to the standard of having to pay the current market rental value of what you're getting. You can be paying a lot less so long as you're paying more than the PMV, which this year is 334.33. That will go up in 2025. I suggest anybody paying rent, make sure they learn what the PMV is for 2025 when it happens, and make sure your rent exceeds or meets or exceeds. Okay. Application of this rental subsidy exception tends to reduce or eliminate the amount of ISM, in-kind support and maintenance, counted towards an individual's SSI payment, which then generally results in a higher SSI payment. In the example discussed above, an SSI applicant or recipient living in one of the 7 accepted states, and as of September 30th, in all the states, who agrees to pay $400 per month for an $800 apartment would not be charged ISM because their monthly required rent is more than the PMV. Pretty cool, huh? Consequently, the SSI applicant or recipient would continue to receive the FBR, federal benefit rate, which is $943, provided they did not have other countable income or resources for SSI purposes that would knock them down. So again, we're only talking about the effect of the rent and getting more than what you're paying for. It's going to be so much easier now. So they go on to say that they're making these changes to make them across the board. Under this new rule, all SSI applicants and recipients, all states, would be held to the same standard that those 7 states were. That is, a business arrangement exists and the applicant or recipient is not considered to be receiving ISM in the form of room or rent if the applicant or recipient has a monthly required rent equal to or exceeding PMV. Now, that's what this whole little stream is about. However, I do want to alert you guys to that other method of you're in a situation where you have agreed to pay rent, but you're not working, you're disabled, and you're fighting your disability claim trying to get your benefits for SSI. This is SSI only. If you have a verbal agreement and did from the time or before you applied for SSI that you owe X amount, say it's $500 a month in rent, blah, blah, blah. I know you can't pay it right now. I'll swing you, says landlord, which could be friend or family or not. I'll swing you until you get back on your feet, you recover, you collect disability, whatever the case may be, you win the lottery, you inherit money. I'll cover you for now. I know you have a claim going, so that might be more likely to prevail than the lottery. And you can pay me back when you get back on your feet, getting disability or any other source. If you have that, you will want to make that clear because those back months, once you win and look at those back months, if you say, oh, I was, if you say you were gifted your rent, you are going to have that 1/3 cut off because you're not paying PMV minimum. And you haven't established that you had this verbal agreement that you were going to start paying back when you got back. Very important. Anyone who's filing for SSI now, even if you were gifted rent before, I highly suggest you get onto a rental arrangement, even if they're going to hold it in abeyance in terms of they're going to swing it and you can pay them back later for past months. Do that now so you can get your full SSI benefit and also pull your weight with your landlord or your family member. It's not a matter of anyone forcing you to pay on your contracts like that. And a lease is a contract. They're not going to force you to pay that as long as it's legally bindable that you would have to if a court held you to it. They're not going to make you pay your credit cards, anything else. It's not their business. They just need to know if it was a gifting or an actual rental agreement. Okay, even if it's with family and even if it was verbal, there are documents we have where you can document after the fact that, yes, we had this agreement since 2022 when I moved in. I applied for disability shortly thereafter because I clearly wasn't getting better, and they agreed to keep a roof over my head while I did this, and then I would pay them back slowly but surely, or with back benefits, or whatever the case may be. Okay, so I hope that clears that up. I'll talk to you guys later if I can figure out how to turn this off. All right.